And then one night I had to drive the horse down to the cabin and stop and get off. And Eugene came over and he said, "Cut." He says, "Fred, I want you to stop the horse over here." I said, "Don't tell me, tell the horse."
Well, before I moved out to LA, I had a syndicated column in Florida that went out to papers across the country, like maybe 10 markets, okay? And I came out to LA and covered a program that I was fascinated with. It was my favorite show at the time. It was called Fernwood Tonight. A great, great show. And I went to a couple of the tapings, and it was the first experience I'd had with watching a live comedy done. And there was a lot of ad-libbing. And one of the characters, I just thought, even though he's second billed, this guy is the lead. It was Jerry Hubbard, the sidekick, played by none other than Fred Willard. Fred, would you... Fred. I really loved you in Fernwood Tonight and America Tonight.
Thank you.
Those were so great. Did you have fun making those?
Oh, it was great fun. We do 2 a day, and the only one who had cue cards was Martin Mull. And we'd rehearse it once, and it was like taking an exam. You knew everything. If they'd stop and say, "Let's go back and do it again," you'd forget it. It was all gone. Say, "Where was I? Where was I?" But it just carried itself, and we did ad-lib a bit.
People don't think of Fred in Westerns, but his very first appearance on television was in a long-forgotten series, a comedy Western called Pistols and Petticoats with Ann Sheridan.
You just pointed out to me, Lon Chaney Jr. was in that. I didn't get to meet him or work with him. I would have been awestruck. I just loved him when he was the Wolf Man.
Everybody did.
Oh, my gosh. I did meet Ann Sheridan, and she seemed a little bit out of it. And I said to the producers, I said, "She's kind of strange." But they didn't know at the time she was not well, and she passed away shortly after that. So,
well,
but I did get to meet Ann Sheridan, yeah.
Fred's Western was sort of a takeoff on Shane, written by Eugene Levy, called Sodbusters.
Yes.
And Kris Kristofferson had the Alan Ladd role.
Yes.
And you were Van Heflin.
Yes, yes. And working with Kris Kristofferson, well, to begin with, I'm not a horse person. They took us all out to ride horses one day just to get accustomed to the horse. When I first came out to Hollywood, I decided that I would go and take riding lessons. I don't know if the place is still there, and some old guy would give riding lessons. First thing he told us one night, he says, "A horse is an extremely dumb animal. It'll jump right off a cliff. If it sees a snake, it might go right over a cliff." So this didn't calm my nerves any when I had to get on the horse. So, but I figured like an actor, I had to know how to ride.
No.
Everything but take dueling lessons. I think it was past the time when they dueled in film.
No, as an actor, all you have to do is say you know how to ride.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, they never asked me that. They just said, "You're going to ride in this one." I was always amazed at how high up it is when you get on a horse.
Especially if you fall down.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I never felt. But Kris Kristofferson, when he got on the horse, and his spur caught in the stirrup, and I thought it was going to kick him off. And oh my God, if this happens to Kris Kristofferson, what's going to happen to me? It didn't faze him though. It didn't faze him. And then one night I had to drive the horse down to the cabin and stop and get off. And Eugene came over and he said, "Cut." He says, "Fred, I want you to stop the horse over here." I said, "Don't tell me, tell the horse." The horse was completely in charge. I was afraid of the horse. I wanted to treat it very gently, and I found out you can't. You have to let it know who's the boss. But in the script, it said that there was we were supposed to have a fight, me and Kris Kristofferson. Then he was going to run away, and I was going to jump on a horse and chase him. And it was a night shoot. And I said, "Well, they must know what they're doing." But Kris Kristofferson said, "Oh, I don't like that, galloping at night." And I just realized, I guess it's a horse could stumble. And I said, if Kris Kristofferson is afraid, I'm afraid too. But I think they either cut it out of the movie or use stuntmen for it. But we did, the fight that proceeded, we did have a fight late at night. And, it's choreographed, and he had to be knocked down and twist. And we did it about 3 times. Then it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and he had his own driver to drive him back into downtown Toronto. And he'd always pull up to my dressing room and say, "Fred, you want to ride?" I said, "Well, sure." And I'd get in the car, I said, "Now, do you want to talk or just be quiet?" "Well, a little bit of both, So this night, it took about 45 minutes driving in. We got out of the car, and he says, "I think I broke my toe." I said, "What?" He hadn't said a word about it. And the next day, he came in, I said, "How's your toe?" He said, "Yeah, it's broke." He said, I said, "My God, I would have spent the night in the hospital. I would have demanded to go to an emergency room." But he was a terrific guy. Not too outgoing, but very quiet. And
Not much of a talker.
Not much of a talker.
Did he sing?
Not in the movie. He didn't. No, didn't. But they tell the story about, I wasn't with them, but one night in Toronto, they went out to a club and they came back and there was a guy sitting on the street playing, and he was the guy on the street was playing "Help Me Make It Through the Night," and didn't know that it was Kris Kristofferson. The people finally, when he's done, said, "Look who you're singing to," and he looked at him, "Oh my God." But it's a fun movie that probably very few people saw. It was on Showtime.
From the reviews that I've read on IMDb, everybody says this is a funny, funny movie.
It was very funny. Well, Eugene Levy was one of the funniest guys I know, and he tried to, and he tried to make it. He said, the first thing he said to us on the first day, he says, "Don't be funny." He's let the humor come out. Don't act funny. So everyone took the roles very seriously.
Well, I think Fred has always made a career out of playing oblivious people, and I think Eugene's statement for you to just play it straight ahead is great advice. Has everybody seen Best of Show?
It's the 125th annual Mayflower Kennel Club Dog Show. 3,000 dogs competing for Best in Show. To think that in some countries these dogs are eaten.
I mean, it's just like, he plays that pretty straight. How is that like working on those improv movies?
Well, it's wonderful. You're told exactly what each scene is going to be, and you're with people who, and again, we're told, we all try. We're not told to, but you all try to make it as real as possible, make it their characters real. You don't try to be outlandish, and you just kind of try to move it along.
That's my favorite, the miniature schnauzer. You'd think they'd want to breed them bigger, wouldn't you, like grapefruits or watermelon?
And people always say, "How do you keep a straight face?" Yeah, I broke up during the filming of one, but you don't want to break the moment. You want to keep going. I mean, it's easy to have a party and laugh and break up, but you don't want to. You want to just keep the rhythm going, and you respect everyone else you're working with.
I have a little announcement to make. Mort Guffman is going to come from New York City and see our show. We have one shot at this. We've got one performance. With Mort Guffman coming to town, we need to hitch up our panties and run.
So it's always fun to be part of those.
What comedians were inspirational to you?
Oh, well, geez, when I was a kid, I loved Bob Hope, and I loved the fact that when he and Bing Crosby would do the movies, they would break the fourth wall and turn and address the audience. As a little kid, I didn't... They were talking to us in the audience. I was not used to that.
First you sell me for $200, then I'm gonna marry the princess, then you cut in on me. Then we're carried off by a desert sheik, now we're gonna have our heads chopped off.
I know all that.
Yeah, but the people who came in the middle of the picture don't.
Abbott and Costello, of course. And a friend of mine just said he showed his 9-year-old kid Abbott and Costello movies. The kids don't really like a lot of the black and whites, but the kids laughed till tears came down their eyes.
Look, you got a first baseman?
Yes.
Then tell me the fella's name playing first.
Who?
The guy playing first.
That's his name.
Wait, what's the guy's name on first base?
Why, there's the guy's name on second base.
Who's playing second?
Who's playing first?
I don't know.
He's on third base. What's the matter with you? Can't you?
Look, when you pay off the first baseman every month, who do you pay the money to?
Every dollar.
Yeah.
Fred is a big baseball fan, and I know Joey Brown made a lot of different sports-related movies, and he made some baseball films too. Is there a baseball or a sports film that you remember seeing?
I saw them all, and I usually don't like them because I just can't stand to see actors playing baseball players. But my favorite, I guess, was Pride of the Yankees because both Babe Ruth and Bill Dickey were in it. If everyone here, every man knows Bill Dickey, the great catcher for the Yankees. They were actually in the movie, and even as a little kid, I was just I loved the movie. And as later, I watched it as an adult, and I said Gary Cooper was awful playing Lou Gehrig, just awful. I mean, he was a wonderful actor in that, but I just don't like to see actors playing professional athletes or baseball players. But to see Bill Dickey and Babe Ruth in a movie. And incidentally, you met Rawhide. Have you mentioned that? Lou Gehrig's movie.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Lou Gehrig made a movie in about 1939 called Rawhide. He was wonderful. He was a combination of John Wayne and Gary Cooper. He was just what you'd imagine Lou Gehrig would be in a movie, and it was a Western.
He didn't do any more after that.
Well, I don't know. I think that he was up for the role of Tarzan. They said his legs were too stocky, too heavy. He was too muscular to be Tarzan. But this was just a year before he got sick. And when he came back, he didn't have a good season. And then it turned out he had ALS. And so that ended it. But I think he would have been a wonderful movie star. And Babe Ruth, if you ever see Babe Ruth in his personal appearance,
Safe at Home,
he would have
too.
been a wonderful actor.
Well, he starred in several silent films.
Yes, he did. And my impression was it was great to see him, but he had too much makeup on. He looked like he was like a mime, and they put too much makeup.
Well, they were silent films. Well, let's have a big hand for Fred Willard.
Thank you very much. I'm so impressed with the turnout. Thank you for asking me to be here.
Thank you, Fred. Okay.